Finding happiness and equality in an egalitarian marriage. The 1950s were a unique interlude in the history of American family. Unlike any other decade in the 20th century, far from being the golden age of American family life, even the happiest families, and especially the women in them, were haunted by contradictory demands and expectations. The upheavals of the following decades grew directly out of these contradictions. This is a quote by Skolnick. She's cited in my work cited. At this point in my speech, I would like to share the survey stats that I put together just as something fun for people to review, although most of my live audience didn't complete their surveys until after the fact, but I think it can offer some interesting facts about other people that took the survey. So that probably will take up a minute or two of my time, and then I will continue. It is likely that you have or are currently pursuing a relationship with another person. Have you thought about the type of relationship you are pursuing? Do you consider your relationship to be more traditional or untraditional? For many of you, it may be too soon to be considering marriage, but this speech will provide you with information for the future. This presentation will provide information regarding egalitarian marriages and traditional marriages and how egalitarian marriages tend to offer both partners more satisfaction in their relationships. Egalitarian marriages tend to produce more satisfaction in partners than those defined by traditional gender roles. As you all know, there has been a major shift in expectations and roles of men and women in modern American society. Men and women's roles have changed significantly over the last 50+ years, especially their roles in marriage. 60% of married women are now employed. As a result, their families are better off, not only financially but psychologically. More families have been able to purchase homes and report that they feel good about their economic status. This was from Brown's paper. In a recent survey, 80% of Americans agreed that it takes 2 paychecks to support a family. This was quoted under Paoli. In the model of a traditional family in the 1950s, the men were the sole breadwinners. In modern time, only 9.7% of men in marriage with children are the breadwinners, and this is from Levant. These are a few examples of why egalitarian marriages offer more satisfaction in marriage. It empowers the family as a whole and enables equality among the family, especially between husband and wife. As a result, the two feel part of a positive change in their lives. Egalitarian marriages emerged during the 1950s and early 60s as a result of rapid, expanding economic and social change. Many American families could not afford to live off one income, which was solely provided by the husband. At the time, approximately 80% of households were married couples, and most women's roles was to stay at home with the children and be a housewife. A quote from Brown's paper states, "Family life is more egalitarian in terms of who is making decisions. Both husband and wives were telling us this," Brown states. It is reported in the same paper that in the 1980s it was still common that the husband believed they made most of the decisions. But what the research found was that when a decision was made together as a family, they were much happier. And this was quote under Paoli. Regardless of what men were saying, a continuation of this analysis revealed that the trend towards more egalitarian conception of women's roles continued into the 1980s and showed no sign of slowing. Despite the changes and gains women have made in society, there's a fair amount of structural and cultural resilience to continue the change of gender equality. This is especially true in the institution of marriage. I will now discuss the makeup of a traditional marriage. The most significant sign of the reluctance of change with gender roles is in the realm of marriage, is that women continue to work a second shift job while continuing to complete housework and raising children. This is also under Paoli. This seems most prevalent in traditional marriages. Historically, traditional marriages, women were materially dependent on their husbands and their well-being. At this time, patriarchy was the central instrument of marriage and still is in many marriages today. The women's role in traditional marriage is to be primarily responsible for raising children and domestic duties. In a traditional marriage, women offer the husband time and support to advance in their careers. This is also Paoli. In a study done by Anna Goldstone and her colleagues, they found people that leaned towards a traditional marriage were in general more religious and wanted to get married at a younger age and stick to traditional gender roles. Paoli also states in his paper that church attendance and fundamentalist Protestant religious identification tends to preserve more traditional outlooks. Paoli also states that some men may be threatened by egalitarian marriage. They may see it as a threat to their status inside and outside of their home. I have provided you with some insight of a traditional marriage. Now I will compare traditional to an egalitarian marriage, and you will see why I believe egalitarian marriage is more satisfying than a traditional marriage. An egalitarian marriage is founded on the couple's shared beliefs that men and women are equal partners in a sphere of life and in their roles, including those of marriage, are completely interchangeable. And this is Paoli. Paoli suggests that if females wanted high job involvement, she may feel that an egalitarian marriage with shared household duties and equality valued careers for both spouses would allow her the time and spouse's support necessary for her desired high job involvement. In related to work and creating a family, 2/3 egalitarian couples had their first child when the female was over the age of 27 years old. This would enable the couple to establish a steady and good income and encourage men to value the role of being a father. Egalitarian couples rated household work as equally. In some studies, Blair found that egalitarian-oriented men reported higher marital quality than traditional men, and wives with traditional husbands reported lower maternal quality as their own earnings increased. It was also found that couples that lived together prior to getting married learned to relate and treat each other more equally and respected each person as an individual rather than in a role of prescribed by traditional marriage, and that's also by Paoli. In a time of rapid change and concern for the future of our children and of our world, it is important you choose a partner that best supports you. If you are happy in a marriage, your children and if you are not happy in a marriage, your children and others will not suffer or will suffer. Egalitarian marriage offers partners the ability to work together in all realms of life, from child rearing to career choices. Let's build a happier and more supportive environment for our children and others. Thank you.